So the internet is full of valuable data, but you need to know how to extract this data in order to use it. Now, whether you know a lot about Python or maybe just a bit, this beginner's guide into web scraping is for you. And in this video you will learn how to use Python and a very popular library called BeautifulSoup in order to extract structured data from the internet. Now make sure to watch this video till the end, because at the end of this video I'm going to introduce you to AgentQL. And this is basically SQL but for web scraping. And AgentQL is as well the sponsor of this video. But before diving into AgentQL, let's first take a look at Python and BeautifulSoup. Okay, so the website that we're going to scrape in this video is this one. And this is a website, a web shop, I have to say, where you can buy Pokemons. Now it's important to notice that the structure of this website is really similar to the structure of other websites. So if you want to scrape, for example, housing data or e-commerce data, and the structure is the same, right? You just have houses here instead of Pokemons, or you have products here instead of Pokemons, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to build two scripts. So with the first script, that's this script, webscraping.py, we're going to fetch all these Pokemons, and we're going to fetch the initial information. So the title of this Pokemon, the price, but you will find also a URL, because if you click on this Pokemon, you will get to a web page with more information. So as you can see here, on this page you cannot find, for example, description. But if you click through to the next page, and you will see here the description, you will also see whether this Pokemon is in stock. And you will also see, for example, the stock keeping unit, right? So that's why we first need to scrape all these pages, and this website has 48 pages. And then we're going to scrape all the individual Pokemons, right? So that's why we have two scripts, one to get all the Pokemons and one to get all the details of every Pokemon. Now let's start with the first script. And before we dive into the script, let's start with installing the required library. So go to terminal, new terminal, and then you're going to type pip. And if you're on a Linux or a Mac computer, you're going to type pip3 install requests, right? So like this, and you're going to do this for every installation. And if you're on a Windows computer, just like myself, you're going to type pip install requests. Then you're going to type pip install PS4, pip install pandas. And the last one is not strictly necessary, but I've seen that some people have trouble installing the pandas library because they are not getting this library. So that's pip install openpyxl. And once we've installed all these libraries, we can close the terminal and we can look at the script. Okay, so here we import all the libraries that we've just installed. And then you see here current page is 1. So of course we start with scraping page 1. And we create a variable called data, and this is where we're going to store all the information that we fetch from all the pages. And then you see that we start with creating an infinite loop. Why I'm creating this infinite loop? So you will see that this website has 48 pages, but of course you want, as soon as like page 49 and page 50 is added, you want the script to automatically scrape those pages as well, right? So you can as well just have here like a while loop and just make it count till page 48, but this is the more scalable approach. Now what's important is that this loop should have some kind of condition to stop it, and you can find that condition right here. So what I'm basically doing here is I check if there is page not found in the title, right, in soup.title.string, and if page not found is in the title, I'm closing this page. And just check on the website that you are trying to scrape. I would really advise to first follow this example and scrape all the Pokemons. This will give you the necessary experience, and then if you want to scrape any other website, then you can basically change this script to head to the other website. So what I normally do is just go to one page, for example, page 4, and then I'm just going to put here like page 100, and then you will see here in the title, page not found, scrape me. And this is basically how I'm creating my stop condition, because page not found is then in this title. And you just have to check whether your title changes. Normally the title will change to something like page not found 404 or whatever, but this is not always the case. And based on this, you're basically going to make the stop condition. If your title does not change for pages that have no content, then you can just go with the approach, like you can just make like a static loop and just let it loop like 48 times, for example. Okay, then what's important? I'm just printing on the screen the page that I'm currently scraping, just so I can follow the progress. So this is more for me than that is actually contributing to the script. This is where I basically define the URL. So I'm defining the URL. As you can see, as soon as you navigate to one of the pages, then you will get here like shop/page 4 and page 5 as page 5, for example. Now what's important to notice is sometimes you have something like this, and sometimes you have like page.php and p is 5, for example. No matter what the structure is of your website, you can just paste your URL here, and then you use str current page to fill in the number. That's how easy it is. Then we use the request library here in order to get the HTML of this web page, right? And that's the same request library that we have imported here. So how we basically get the content of this page, and then we initialize BeautifulSoup here. So soup is BeautifulSoup. We refer to page.text, so that's basically the text of the page that we have scraped right here, and we use the HTML parser. There are other parsers part of BeautifulSoup. Just search for BeautifulSoup parsers, and if you, for example, you want to scrape XML, you're going to use another parser. But most websites are HTML, so this one is like, I would say, is the best choice for most websites. Okay, then what we're going to do here, this is where we get into the more technical part. So what I'm doing here is I'm basically going to search for all the items on the page. So you will see in this case, those are all Pokemons. And if you want to follow my example, just click on one of the Pokemons, click on inspect. And then you will see here, you have to get a bit up. And then you will see that for every Pokemon, there is a list item. And you will see here that this list item has quite some classes, and one of the classes is product, right? So I'm basically searching here for a list item with the class product. And this is how that looks like. So list item, classes product. But it's also possible that, for example, the houses that you want to scrape are not list items, but those are, for example, in divs, and they have the class house, right? Something like this. So just search out what works for you. And you can also, instead of the class, you can also use the ID or any other attribute. Okay, so this is going to give us all the items of this page. So it's just going to give us an overview of all these items, right? Every Pokemon, okay? Then this is the break that I already told you about. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to loop through every item, and we're going to collect the data for that specific item, right? So as soon as we are in here, we are not going to look at the entire HTML anymore, but we're only going to look at the HTML of every individual Pokemon, right? So we're going to look only in the HTML of every list item, right? So for example, this tag is part of it, this tag is part of it, etc., etc. So we initialize a dictionary here, which is called row, and then we're going to add fields. So for example, I'm going to add row name, where I want to get the name of the Pokemon, and I can just use item.find. Because here we use item in this list. So the HTML of every specific item is now called item. And that's one part of all items. So item.find. Let me see what we are looking for. So just click on the name of any of one of the dinosaurs. So for example, this one, click on inspect. And you will see that the name is stored in an h2 tag, right? With the class, with this class. So I'm just going to copy the class. And then I'm going to say h2 class underscore is equal to, and then you're going to just copy the class here. I'm going to search for the text attribute. Okay, so now we have the name, and of course, if this is an h3, an h1, or whatever element, or a div or a span, you can just put that one here. You can put the class here, right? So it's quite easy to modify this. I'm going to copy the name, and I also want to know the price of every item. So let's just take a look at how this price looks like. You also see that there is like a pound sign here, and you also see .00. There is no Pokemon which has a price with like cents, with like decimals in the price. So I'm also going to remove .00. So just click on inspect, and you will see that the price is saved in this span. So it's a span with this class. So I'm just going to change this one to the element span, and then this is the class. And of course, we're looking for the text as well. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to dot replace. And I want to replace the pound sign. I'm just going to copy it from here, as I don't know how to get it. So this is the pound sign. I'm going to replace that by nothing. And then I'm going to add another dot replace. And I'm also going to replace .00 for nothing. Like this, okay? And of course, you always will find these kind of elements that have data that you don't really need, right? Or like dollar signs or pound signs. And let me just double check if there is no space between, because sometimes you will as well see that there is a space between this dollar sign and the rest. Right here, that doesn't seem to be the case. But of course, if there is a space, you just put a space here and the space will be removed as well, right? So you can use this to remove any data that you basically don't need. Okay, now let's copy this one again. And then let's navigate to the third item, which is the URL. And the URL is a bit more difficult to find. So here we're going to use item.find. And we want to find the A attribute, right? Which is basically a link in HTML. And then we're going to use .get. And we want to get the href. And this should be it. There is nothing else that we need here. So now you've seen how to get the name, the price, the URL. And based on what you have seen here, you can as well imagine that it's quite easy to also fetch other elements. Then at the end of this loop, I'm just going to put this one right here. So at the end of scraping every individual element, we're going to add the data to data, and then we're going to navigate to the next page. And at the end of this entire script, that's where we're going to write the data to the file pokemons.xlsx and pokemons.csv. You see index false here. If you don't know what this is, you can try running the script without indexes false, and it will just add a number for every row, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, blah, blah, blah. So I don't really need this. So that's why in most of the cases I add indexes false. But if you like it, you can, of course, remove this part like this. Okay, I write to a CSV file and an Excel file. If you don't need one of the two, you can just remove it. Then let's run the script and let's see how it looks like. Okay, and as we have seen earlier, the website has 48 pages, but it's scraping page 49 as well, just to find out that here the title looks different. It includes page not found, and then it's when it's going to stop the script. As you can see, there are two other files that have been created here. So just going to click on Reveal in File Explorer, and I'm going to open pokemons.xlsx. And then you will see that the name of the Pokemon has been added, the price without decimals and without the pound sign. And there should also be no space here, so that's correct. And then as well, you see the URL. And the URL that we see here is the only part, it's the only dependency for scraping the rest of the data, because we now have to use the second script to loop through all the URLs and fetch the description, the SKU, etc., etc. Okay, so let's close this one. And let's navigate to the second script, and that's web scraping all pages.py. Okay, so we do the same here. We import request, BeautifulSoup, pandas SPD. This has something to do with the pandas library, and then we read the Excel that we have created earlier, which is called pokemons.xlsx. Now you see that there is pokemons.xlsx, and we also have here the variable Pokemons. And if you're scraping houses or e-commerce data, I would really call this houses or products in order to avoid a lot of confusion. Then what we are doing, we are adding 3 columns to the Excel file: stock, short description, and SKU. Those are the values that I'm going to show you how to scrape. Of course, if you want to scrape more values, you should now know how to do this, right? And then what I do here is I loop through every single row in the Excel file. So for index in pokemons.index, I as well show here which page I'm scraping. So this is again more for me than for the working of the script. And then I define the URL. And here in the first page, the URL was like scrape.me.live, blah, blah, blah. But here we are fetching the URL from this Excel file, right? So if you use Pokemons and then the name of the column, and if you use Pokemon's URL and then index, you can get the URL for the specific line that we are going through on the screen, right? So this is basically showing the line that we are going through, and this is showing the column. Okay, then we do the same page.request.get URL, but here we skip one step, and that's because if you navigate to the second page, like the child page, I would say, then you see there is only one element on the screen, right? There are not like 50 or 20 Pokemons. So here we don't need to first use another loop, but here we can just say soup is beautiful soup, and then we basically can fetch the stock. So here you will see that the stock is in a P with class stock. The short description is in a div with class blah, blah, blah. And then you will see that the SKU is in a span which has the class SKU. Okay, so I'm not gonna explain this again. I've already showed you how to do this, and I think it's quite easy to change the attributes to the attributes that you want to scrape, and you can just use the class, right? So here I've basically initialized a number which starts with I, and here I say if I is equal to 10, I want you to break this loop. And this is because I don't know how many Pokemons this file contains, but it's probably going to be in the hundreds of, or maybe even thousands. And I don't want to send like 800 or 1,000 requests to this web server just because it's an example. If you want to scrape more Pokemons, you can just set this to 50, or you can just remove this at all. And if you remove this at all, it will scrape every Pokemon, but it will put a lot of load on the server, okay? Okay, so this is the same as what we've seen earlier, but here I'm writing to Pokemons_complete.xlsx just to show you that I'm creating a new Excel file. I use index as false again, and this one is interesting, and I want to show you why I added this separator is a pipeline, and this is because if you read the descriptions of the Pokemon, then you will see that there are commas in the description of the Pokemons, and by adding this pipeline instead of using a comma, we are still able to distinguish where a column ends and where there is just a comma in the description of the specific Pokemon. Just experiment with this if you don't know what I'm talking about, and you will see that that it really matters. Okay, now let's also run this script. And let's then open Pokemon's complete. And you will see now that for the first 10 Pokemons I have the price, the URL, but as well the stock, the short description, and as well the stock keeping unit for this specific Pokemon. Okay, so this is the basis of web scraping. People have been doing this for centuries and it works quite well, but it has a few disadvantages. So first of all, if you don't have a background in web design and HTML, it can take you ages to build all these selectors with BeautifulSoup. And especially if you have a website that changes regularly, every time you have to tell BeautifulSoup where to find the data that you need. So I want to introduce you to the sponsor of today's video, AgentQL. And this is basically SQL, but for websites. So if you work with AgentQL, you just tell AgentQL which data you need, and then AgentQL will do all the heavy lifting for you. And I know that you guys often prefer to go together with me, so if you create a free account on agentql.com, you get the first 1200 API calls for free, and I promise you, you can scrape a lot of data with that. So what you see on the screen is a script where I use AgentQL to scrape data. And the website that we're going to scrape is the same website, it's this website, and we're going to scrape the name and the price of every Pokemon. And if you take a look at the script, then you see that I define the query here. And I basically request a list with products and with the attributes name and price. And of course, if you want to scrape any other website, then you can as well put here like books or whatever. You can just provide the fields here that you want AgentQL to scrape. So this works pretty well. And I'm going to show you a demo. And if you want to code with me, just navigate to my website. You can find the link to this page in the description of this video. And then you need to install pandas, OpenPyXL, and AgentQL. I assume you've watched the first part of this video, so you know how to install them. The only thing that is important is that you run this piece of code in your terminal, AgentQL init. So let's open a terminal. AgentQL init. And then this is where you provide the AgentQL API key. And you can get this API key for free on the website of AgentQL if you use the link in the description of this video. Now let's go back to the script. So I provide the API key here. You're going to provide your own API key, then press enter. And then AgentQL also wants to know where to store its logs. So I'm just going to provide this path here. Would you like to download an example script? No. And now you've installed and initialized AgentQL, and you should be able to run the following script in Python. And as you can see, we're using Playwright here, which is a library which is very similar to Selenium, and a lot of people say it's a lot better. Then we navigate to the page. In this case, we're only scraping one page, but I'm also going to show you how to change the script so you can scrape more pages. And then this is where we provide the query. Of course, you can just adjust the query based on the website that you want to scrape. It works pretty well. I just provide the attributes here and the list of whatever you want to scrape. And then we get the response. And what I normally do if I use AgentQL is I print the response to my console. I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So Playwright will open a physical browser, and then you will see that we get the content of the variable response here on the screen. So you will see that we get a dictionary, products, which includes a list, and this list also includes every specific Pokemon right here. Okay, So what is important is that there is still a pound sign here and there is still the .00. So what I do here, what you can basically do is with the response. So I'm just gonna quote this one out. And normally you can just run this piece of code, data.append product in this loop, and it will append all the Pokemons to data, and then later it will write them to the Excel file right here. Now what's important, so I basically created this dictionary manually because I wanted to remove the pound sign, and I also wanted to remove the .00 as there are no decimals in the price of the Pokemons. Right, so this is what you can do if you want to get rid of some symbols, and otherwise you can just use this piece of code. And then in the last step, I'm writing to Pokemon's AgentQL.xlsx. And of course, you've earlier seen how you can also write to a CSV file, so I'm not going to explain that again. Now let's take a look at this XLS file. I will see that we have here the name of every Pokemon and as well the price of every Pokemon. So this works really well, but now in this case, I've only scraped one page. So I'm going to delete this one. And if you want to scrape multiple pages, you can just change this number to, for example, 3, and you will scrape the first 3 pages. So let's also see how that looks like. Now, if this video was useful for you, please give it a thumbs up. Now, if you want to try out more AgentQL examples, you can find a link to the GitHub in the description of this video, which includes a lot of examples.